Well, hello everyone. That's like you talked to you about is like the PlayStation Portable. As you see right here, is that the little handheld they say game console it is, and knowing about right here is you have these buttons right here. It's like for music, and of course with start, and of course a few of these other say features it is. And you got the volume button right there. But anyway, of course if there's enough light coming into the screen, it more like you can pretty much see yourself. But right here is I'm gonna go ahead and turn the power on right here, and you see right here is that you got right here is a screen right here, and with anybody, if you're gonna be familiar with like what you call is like the PlayStation Portable right here, you have these icons right here, and knowing about it with these icons is that you see right here is that of course this was something that I wanted to play with whenever I was young. Of course that whenever I was a kid, back in back in early 1994, 95, something like this would more likely be asked for. It's like so far as a birthday present for me. Right here, as you see, if I can show it, it's like talking about it's like tilting the game console. But right here, you can see it's like the time display. It has right here is you got the time display right here, and then well, you got the time display, and of course with the controller settings it is. And of course, say for memory stick, it's like for memory stick tells you about how much free space is free on the memory stick it is. But anyway, that you have a set time and date settings, and then on your hand too, you got the see save data, and of course at the internet browser. That I really don't even know exactly how that works, and I'll be honest with anybody, I didn't know that you could even do anything such as get connected to the browser. I guess you say that click the left and the right, the control will be for the left, and then of course for the right you'll be able to change those settings right there. But then of course right here for internet browser, if you go up, and then you could go ahead and check the RSS channel, I guess to say the reading service station or something for what that's in, and the location free player, and see here location, and then see, and then go ahead and click up and down if there's more menu selections from there, and then that save data utility, and then for the games, I guess since I don't got a game in there, then more likely it's not going to do anything. But anyway, that see games, move video. I guess they say if you were to save a video onto the memory stick, and I really that unless that could be done on like a computer whenever the PlayStation Portable came out back then, that it was like that that if Windows 2000 if Windows, I think Windows XP I guess was on the market, it was until it had Windows 7, and of course with Windows 8 you say or Mac, and it is and with for the Microsoft Windows it is. But you have right here is that you got these different menu settings right here. It's like talk about with photo right here, and then of course you have is the power saving setting, power save settings it is. It's like, and then and right here the sound settings. Of course you can change the security settings, and then the network settings it is. And of course if you other than listen to me talking about it's like yada yada yada, USB connections it is, and of course with network update. But anyway, if you were to I would just go ahead and say for like music, or see here music or video, so like say there is no no video it is, and knowing about with me, then of course X to be able to select, and then of course you press make the circle to be able to exit. The basic controls from like the Sony Playstation, the basic controls is that knowing about that with the basic controls that you have like the rectangular rectangle, and of course you got the square, and of course with the circle, and the X. And I guess on like the PlayStation controller, I guess it will be if it will be known as what you call like the X, or if it's the circle A or anything like that. It's like you have these different controls right here for the PlayStation Portable. And I can remember that whenever I first bought this, that it was back I would say at least 9, 10, almost 10 years ago, whenever I bought this the system console brand new, and knowing about that I bought it brand new, and then it was quite a bit of money, and of course, in taxes included, and just knowing about that, over $200 I think for the device, and I tried to, if I can remember right, that I even tried to buy a game along with it, but then of course ran out of money, of course, and after the sales tax and everything came along, but anyway this game console, what most of us were probably thinking about, is if we were to be playing it like a PC game, it is, and knowing about if you were to install the game, if most of us are familiar with like a game, PC game such as like Wolfenstein or Duke Nukem, or if it's we say a few other computer games that I played in the past that I can maybe think of some of them, some names of them, but of course not all of them I think were even supported by Windows. It was, but if we were to play a PC game, a lot of times it would probably say that that file, something is missing. If the file director say X, or the sound card or anything like that is missing, and then it won't play the game. It is, and knowing about the types of programs, of course, that the software, you say middleware software, is that files that are required, just to be able to run the game. It is, and know about with me that a lot of old games and of course systems, it is like other than like they say the Game Boy Color, it is the PlayStation Portable would be, it's like one game system, one handheld game console that I still had that still works, of course. That knowing about after so many years, they're probably thinking about the battery, probably the battery charger, you say a connector gave out on it, whatever it is, you may have lost some parts. It is, the parts may have gotten damaged, and just knowing about that what still works, but the game still works, and just knowing about that you've had it all this time, and just knowing about, you don't know too much about this, like see the video settings right here is like if you you want to change the language, audio language, if you want to change the languages, subtitle language, and if I can remember, it came with the demo disc too, but I know I only have so much time really to talk, of course, but anyway, that really just to be able to put a movie into the slot, and if most of us probably see right here that the memory see here that the disc would go at about right in here. It comes to this like this little compartment right here. Say on the bottom, say of the game, say portable PlayStation Portable. It goes to say from the top. It is, and knowing about the basic controls right here, it's like if mostly see you got right here is the controls, and then you got the buttons right here where you can adjust the volume. But a lot of times compared to something like this, to like what you say is like maybe the iPod Nano or anything like that, MP3 player that you can maybe play music on it. It may require a memory stick unit, or it may require anything. It's like anybody watching could probably thinking about that. I compared this to drawing it out, and more likely I may think about that later, about if I want to do an art manual about the PlayStation Portable, think of ideas that maybe I can come up with. I can probably think of a few of them, of course, but on the other hand too, that knowing about with the PlayStation Portable is that you have one of these, and knowing about if I can get it working to where I can maybe try to get on say the network update, it is, and then of course save some maybe some music. It's like this you say you got me going now. So other than that, like other than that, like and knowing about, it's like with the see for the videos it is, and knowing about, it's like if I could maybe update that video. And a lot of times I've noticed that if the memory card, whatever data that you want to, of course, upload to the PlayStation Portable, some of it could be, say, ungraded. It is the software media that can't read the memory card, for whatever reason. But I could probably think about that. And then you got right here is the control right here. Most of us can see that this little is say analog, just like on the PlayStation it is. I guess that you have like two controls right there. But then of course on the PlayStation Portable that you have that one, say Rangaroo, I don't even know really what it's called, but it's there that you can actually move around. If you be playing a game, you can move around the character during the gameplay. It is, but But you have right here, you got these connector, jacks, and then of course on the bottom part, say of the device that you have, like what you call is like where you can plug in the headphone. I guess. See, I think that's where the AC charger. You can charge up the device, and if I can remember right, that there's trying to think of the connector. But anyway, but they are for the PlayStation Portable, and I like I said before, back in like 1994, 1995, it was that something like this would more likely would be something that maybe I would maybe want to take to school with me and show my friends it is, or if I would want to take it with me around, and of course have fun with it. I would probably say that I would spend at least maybe 8 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours, something like that, maybe a day on it, and knowing about it still works, and of course it still plays games too. But a lot of times it's like that from what I gotta do now, that knowing about with most kids is that if you're gonna go out and buy something, and the next thing you know it, that you spend so much hours playing with it, of course, and even if you have all the right accessories, it is just to be able to play with it, and knowing about that, maybe you just don't play with it too much, and maybe it's just a reason about the fact about maybe you're just looking at something maybe with more options and maybe better graphics. It is a lot of people probably thinking about that the graphics, if the graphics are going to start getting poor and they're going to start announcing something new, a lot of times that a lot of kids will go out and buy something else that it's like if it's the graphics or if it's the fact about depending on I guess their appetite, but knowing about with me that I could probably say that since it still works, that knowing about if I got my money's worth out of it, and knowing about that to spend a little bit more time just to see what check out what it does, and of course that see date and time, and then of course the power saving, the sound settings, and you have right here is like you got the ketone and a few of the other settings. Of course it's got multiple. Let's say I would probably say to compare this to like what you call is like to the Game Boy Advance, that I cannot recall. I got a Game Boy Advance, but if I can remember right, it don't have you gotta put I think AA batteries in it, and then I would have to check the battery status. But one of these game consoles, what I say is back in 1995, that I think that a game console like this right here would be, I'm sure that any kid would say that even a kid over there shopping at Toys R Us, and Toys R Us, but any kid that would be shopping at Toys R Us would probably say that maybe would like to have, like, would say a little handheld like this right here, to where like a Game Boy Advance, to where that they can play games on it, and of course you don't have to worry about the connector jacks of hooking up to a TV. It's like a little handheld game console. It is. You have a screen right here that's measured, I would say, at least by a little bit smaller, I think, than the normal. See here, if I measured it right, I would say about maybe 5'3", say 5 by 2 inches, something like that. Length and width it is, and you got right there's a little screen, and knowing about that. See here, if I were connected to USB or connect to a USB cable, I would not know if that would even actually, it looks like it may have it to where that, but anyway, if you were to connect it to a TV, then a lot of times I noticed that I had many years where I would have to share a TV with somebody. Just knowing about with the PlayStation Portable is that you can be able to have a battery pack, and of course have your own gameplay screen right here, and I guess anybody who's familiar with like what you call like a Sega Game Gear or anything like that, where you can have a little handheld and then be able to play and enjoy the game it is. And a lot of people probably think about that really there's only so much you can see from a small screen like this, and especially in 3D, that anybody would probably think about that they like having a big screen, knowing the fact it feels like a lot like being in the game, and whenever you have a real big screen. But on your end too, that knowing about with the handheld though, that I keep thinking about that with a handheld game console, that I would probably recommend, to anybody that is like talking about if you were to buy one of these, that as long as you take care of it, I'm like that, yeah, that as long as you take care of it, making sure it don't break, because I'm sure with most people, if you're going to be buying something like this for your kids, grandkids, whoever it is, for as a gift to somebody, then more likely that there's a chance for like a PC game that if your warranties no longer valid, expired, it is, and more likely that the cost of getting it fixed could be, say, out of the pocket, it is. And if I can remember, the Xbox 360, of course, the one I have, of course, is broken, and knowing about that, it's like but with the PlayStation Portable, it is just knowing about if you would actually play one of these, and then thinking about that, knowing how to work the settings, and just knowing about that really that you get the basic facts. A lot of people are thinking about that, really, like in little handheld game consoles. It's like people probably think about it. It's like well, I don't want to mess with that. Really. Well, it plugs in. I don't even want to mess with the plug. No, I don't want to mess with the plug. And then the connector jack goes right out. I don't even want to mess with the wire. You don't want to mess with no plugs. You don't want to mess with no menus. You don't want to mess with no cartridges, no CD. What do you want to mess with? If I could pick one at random, I would probably say that maybe the buttons. Go ahead and maybe push a few buttons right here. That would be one thing I would want to mess with. Like, well, that wasn't an option. Like, well, I made it an option. But anyway, that anybody would probably think about, if there's anything about, a handheld game console you would want to mess with. It could be what you say is like, oh, I'll go ahead and aim for the power switch, or maybe a few buttons right here. Go ahead and move these, back and forth, and then et cetera, like that. I don't know how to work all those, but on your hand too, that knowing about that, if you were going to be buying one of these, like with me, that I've had this for several years, and just thinking about it now since they got, I think, the PlayStation Vita, I think is the new one that they have, and just knowing about it, as long as it still works, it's like you still get some enjoyment other than that. But other than that, it's talking about, for the PlayStation Portable, it's like so far calling about is like that with the mirror right here, is knowing about right here, is like talking about with the PlayStation Portable, we say is talking about, is like for the PlayStation Portable, it's like, entertainment.